सादर प्रणाम और दिल से सलाम। बने हैं अहले हवस मुद्दई भी मुनसिफ भी, किसे वकील करें किससे मुनसफी चाहें। The powerful are both plaintiff and arbiter. Who then should I appoint as counsel? Where should I seek justice? In the recent past, not a day has gone by in India when citizens have not been inundated with threatening text messages and emails asking them to connect their mobile number and bank account to their Aadhar card. Everyone who has a bank account or mobile telephone number, regardless of whether it is a state-owned company or bank, is informed that their accounts and services could be potentially suspended if they do not comply with this directive. The eagerness exhibited by these services, despite the fact that the Supreme Court has still not ruled on whether this is mandatory, demonstrates that this is not just something the state wants to implement, but also a policy that is supported by a large number of companies, financial institutions, and other organizations. All of these rely on gathering big data. The Indian state has created the world's largest biometric database and ascribed every registered Indian citizen a unique identification number. Various arguments have been made for and against Aadhar being deployed by the government to not only track citizens but also to allow them to avail of certain government schemes. The larger questions that have arisen because of the Aadhar debate center on issues of surveillance and privacy. So, before we get into a detailed discussion of the pros and cons of Aadhar, it will be useful to lay out some general background and history about privacy. As far back as the 18th century, Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of America, wrote in the Federalist Papers that, quote, "It is a truth which the experience of ages has attested, that the people are always most in danger when the means of injuring their rights are in the possession of those of whom they entertain the least suspicion." Hamilton, of course, was speaking about the government. He was writing in the context of state versus union power and who should control the military, but the principle behind the statement holds for often people, once they elect governments, assume that the government will always prioritize the people's interest. It is precisely because of this danger that there is a separation between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and maintaining the boundaries between each of these institutions is essential to a healthy democracy. They should function as a check and balance on the others. Now, having established that it is the primacy of the people that is of ultimate importance and not that of the government or state, it is possible to argue that any step that undermines the autonomy, freedom, and rights of people is something that needs to be checked. So, we come back to the two issues that were mentioned and highlighted earlier: privacy and surveillance. Since 2016, the government has required citizens to register their photographs, iris scans, and fingerprints in order to access a whole host of government schemes that they are entitled to. This has formed the main basis of the pro-Aadhar lobby's argument, who say that this verification and linking procedure will get rid of corruption and middlemen and allow a large number of poor people to access services that they can benefit from. Thus, this 12-digit number then becomes a lifeline of sorts, and until earlier this year, the government had issued almost 1.15 billion numbers covering approximately 87.5% of the population. Although the government maintains that availing of various services by linking to the Aadhar is voluntary, in practice, it is impossible to get around this. So when the Aadhar is linked to someone's driving license, ration card, bank account, and telephone number, a detailed and comprehensive profile can be made of that person's lifestyle, habits, spending patterns, and other such highly personal information. Needless to say, parts of this information will also be available to non-governmental organizations, and this assumes that the security system which protects this data is airtight. But as we saw earlier this year in the study published by the Center for Internet and Society based in Bangalore, the system is very leaky. So leaky that the details of 130 million Aadhar card holders, including bank account details, were leaked through just 4 government websites, and this is not to mention the number of times financial institutions, insurance companies, and even telephone companies have also either leaked data or in some cases even tried to sell it. But let's assume that a system is created where the data is made absolutely safe and it is protected from any kind of potential misuse. Does that mean that the Aadhar is fine? For this, we have to consider the question of privacy. In the absence of defined legislation, the government continues to roll out the program and link more government schemes to Aadhar, perhaps with the view that it will be too big to roll back. Earlier this year, it was linked to filing income tax returns and applying for PAN cards. Indeed, it is worth recalling that the original Aadhar Act was enacted in 2016 without any debate and indeed without the approval of either the Houses of Parliament. Ever since it began, the Aadhar scheme has also become a huge commercial opportunity, and people originally working for the UIDAI have now begun working for organizations such as iSpirit, which advocate commercial usages of Aadhar. The very process of collecting and collating this data has itself spawned a massive software and hardware industry, and the Aadhar Act empowers private companies to download information like name, gender, and date of birth to verify customer identity. Coupled with the political significance of big data in terms of people's likes, dislikes, trends and patterns in behavior, social media presence and other such records, it is not hard to see why both the government as well as various companies are so keen to have a centralized and comprehensive database that will give whoever has access to the information not only enormous economic power but also tremendous political clout. Thus, in order to continue to have the right to throw out a potentially tyrannical government, the right to privacy becomes crucial as a way of safeguarding political freedom.